Hello world, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Maria Banga here. Maria Banga, founder of the association Hope for the Abused and the Battered. Whenever I sit down and I use that title and I talk about hope for the abused and the battered, most of the time is to talk about a case, is to talk about something. Oh my goodness, when is 2020 going to end? How many more days? Has a year been this tough for me before? Like tough to just deal with, tough to just embrace, tough to just, it's like this. One case after the other. Oh my goodness. It looks like the pandemic just made people go wild, wicked, wild, senseless. And when it comes to innocent children, what am I even talking about innocent children? Which child cannot be innocent? Children are not born knowing how to fumble, how to do all of those kind of things. So 4-year-old children, I want to talk about child abuse. You see, I'm still trembling. I'm trying since yesterday when I watched that video to kind of stay on top of my, my emotions, to kind of stay in control and kind of make like I didn't see it. When the video was first sent to me, I said I'm not going to watch it because of the way it was introduced to me. I was like, no, I don't. And then she said, please do. And then I was like, okay, Father, give me the grace to watch this video and to do something about it. 4-year-old children, you beat a child until the child is rolling on the floor. You kick. And you are their grandmother. Hey! This happened in Yaoundé. This is their paternal grandmother. So it would appear the son is, well, what some people will call wayward. So he still lives at home and he does whatever he's doing. And well, he had this relationship with this girl, and the girl had twins. She had 2 babies. And she cannot take care of them. Who knows if she's a sex worker or something, I don't know. But the children ended up with his grandma, with his mother, because he himself is not doing nothing. So, well, he brought the kids home. I don't know when. And so the mother is the one taking care of those children and taking care of him too. I mean, if he can impregnate a girl, he should be above 21, maybe. I think so, right? Or more, because the last I heard was that his mother had kicked him out, that he should go and do something with his life and whatsoever. But, I mean, I don't want to go into that because, seriously, we parents, we have some work to do. Some of those children we are kicking out like that, we are the ones who also brought them up without paying attention to whether they were actually thinking of their own future or not, or just pampering them and spoiling them and letting them just be wayward. And then later on in life we are like, who brought you up? How could you turn out this way? I know that some will still turn out whichever way they will turn out, but I think that there's a lot of effort on our side too. And I'm a psychotherapist, so I'm talking based on a lot of experience. Like, I've met a lot of children who are so broken, and yet some of them come from so big homes and all kinds of things. Parents who are all kinds of things out there, have all kinds of things. The children are just so broken, and I'm like, what are you expecting from those children tomorrow? So coming back to these 2 little children, I put the link to the video there. You can go and watch it later on. And tell me if you yourself as a parent or an auntie or anything can beat a child that way. Goodness gracious. Small children, until one of them is running and going away. It looks like an uncompleted house. So trying to run and climb up to somebody, say, come here. And the child just knows that they don't come back, they're finished. So they come back to continue receiving lashes. I'm still like, I can cry again. For heaven's sake. Beat the girl, falls on the ground, she's rolling, you are kicking. It's been long since I did a live video. I was so emotional and I cried, but I thought this 2020 would just go like that now. Oh my goodness. Oh. What I think of people who don't have children, people who have done all kinds of procedures to have a child, people who have done the adoption procedure forever and ever is not going through, people who are, oh my goodness. And some people will have and maltreat like that. And it's like they're not even aware, or they don't care that the psychological damage, oh, even the health damage. Look at that girl kicking a girl child like that on the stomach or by the side. It can affect her reproductive system. What kind of a thing is this? The woman is a so-called military officer. She says that who can do what to her? Because she knows that nobody can do anything to her. Okay, fine. I hear that when she's going to work, she locks those children up inside the house. And she locks the children up, and the children are not supposed to touch anything. The children are not supposed to play. The children are not supposed to do anything. Sometimes without food. Sometimes we'll just put some sleeping stale food somewhere there like that. It's somebody who lives around there who has been observing and observing until they could observe no more. And so they did that video and then they sent it to someone, and then the person thought like, no, I'll be the best to kind of like try to do something about it. And so they sent it to me. And that when she is home, even when their father is home, at 9 p.m., they tell those children, you know how before children go to sleep, you tell them to go and pee. She does not allow them to use the toilet in the house. So she sends them outside. Those small children. I be saying about, go and pee. 9 p.m. in Yaoundé, with that cold and the dark sometimes. Small children like that. What have we not seen in this 2020? Just today, I went on one group. I saw a man who killed his wife and his 2 children, 13 and 9, and plus his own self. So that's 4 people on the 22nd. That was yesterday. Whether the wife betrayed him or whatsoever. Yesterday, in that same group, a Nigerian killed the wife and then committed suicide. For whatever reason, we don't know. I'm like, the cases are just too many. I'm not even sharing them again. It's just that for this particular one, these two small children, I was like, nah. I thought that people used to maltreat children like that in the 90s or something like that. 2020, a human being is going to beat up children like that? People will say, hey, vengeance belongs to the Lord. Okay, God should better do something about it. I think he knows what's happening anyway. If the Lord cannot do something to that woman, God should better, or karma should locate her. If she failed to bring up her own son properly, why take it out on those innocent children? Even if the son is wayward and he went and slept with a sex worker, I don't know if it was a sex worker or where the mother of those children are. Bet she said that her son is a good for nothing. He's there, he's not doing anything in the house. So it might be somebody who has at least cost 25 or something, I don't know. And he's not doing nothing. He himself participates in maltreating the children anyway, because he's probably taking out his frustration on the children and he's loading for the girl. But the thing is, why go and have unprotected sex if you are not ready for the consequences? Why? And it will be either you get pregnant or you get somebody's child pregnant, or there will be some illness. So you cannot, with all the condoms and all the whatever methods that are out there, go and have unprotected sex without thinking about that. And if somebody says she's pregnant, then you better sit up. Or if you don't want the baby, don't even allow her to keep the pregnancy. I'm not church person, so I'm not even going to go into those details. But seriously, that's an option. Than to bring children into the world and not even be able to take care of those children, not be in their lives. Imagine, many of us sitting here, I included, went through childhood trauma. One trauma or the other. We are still trying to process them. Let me even tell you one of my traumas. My trauma is Christmas. I don't like Christmas season. I don't like Christmas season at all. I'm sitting here just really trying to get the energy to show up for Christmas. I just want to show up the minimum I can show up and then come back to my house. I don't like Christmas. I don't do Christmas. I don't buy tree. I don't buy. I'm like, this year is the first year when I really bought myself something for Christmas. What did I buy? Candles. Scented candles. That's what I bought for myself. Telling myself, okay, that's your Christmas present, like your season present or your end of year present. But no. And I don't like Christmas because when I was a child, there were times when for me it was like they care for you only during Christmas. Like they buy a dress, they'll plait the hair, they'll cook the nice food, they'll do all of those things. After that, every other time it can be anything. And you know, a child thinks the way the child thinks. So whether that was their intention or not, that is how the child thought, and that is how I thought. And then my father got married to another woman who would maltreat us and do all kinds of things. And then when it's Christmas or Easter, you'll be seeing all kinds of things all over the place. You people might show up only during that time, dress up, sit there and stuff. And after that, bam, back to suffer. There's one particular Christmas I couldn't believe. As soon as the party was over, even me who used to wash plates, and they would say, yeah, come on. That day I was not even allowed to wash plates. Back into your room. So what was the show for? So I really struggle to show up for Christmas, especially when there's a crowd. So just imagine these two other children. The flashbacks don't go. You need a lot of work to manage that, to get over that, or to, I don't know, whether it's to accept it, to embrace it. This morning I was watching on Red Table Talk, they were talking about suicide. Talking about, and some children, is the trauma, is the this, is the that. One particular man, it was the expectations they had on him, the family, the pressure and everything. And because he couldn't meet up, he went into drugs and drinks. And there was a time when he wanted to kill himself. He just got up in the hospital. He was handcuffed. There was blood on his body. And that is when he knew that he had hit rock bottom. And he just had to change. So, I mean, the things are there. The stories abound. Some people have mental illnesses today. We don't know where it's coming from. We are insulting them. We are doing all kinds of things. We don't know that it is something that snapped in their childhood. Look, somebody can be beaten and the person is just going to, don't care. But somebody will be beaten. I remember my late brother. He was so scared of the lash. If you just say, show your hand, hey, he will cry until, but me, I had become numb to beating, because I used to be beaten until one day I was beaten until I dissociated. Beating until, that's why I don't beat. For me, it's like, no, that's, oh my goodness, before I beat you, you must have done something until, because I said I've been beaten to my third generation. I don't want, it is so traumatizing. Beating does not make anybody improve. Beating only makes you hate the person who is beating you. Beating only makes you rebel some more. Beating only makes you become kind of like tough skin and say, anyway, after all, they'll still beat me. Like, I'll go out. When I come back, they'll beat me, and then what? Tomorrow you go out again. And then the more you rebel, the more you reinforce the attitude in your brain, the more it is like, I don't care if I'm beaten. Those small children at 4, don't be surprised tomorrow they grow up and think beating is such a normal thing to do, and then they beat their own children or their own relatives or nieces. You become so violent. Violence is now a way of expressing power, control, even of extracting satisfaction. Because some people, they get pleasure when they see other people in pain. There's a very thin line between pain and pleasure. So some people, I'm talking, even between married people, sometimes the man beats the woman because he's happy to see you cry. He beats the children, even the women. Sometimes you are frustrated with the man, but there's nothing you can do to the man, so you beat your children. You're happy to see them. You're releasing your frustration, and they are in pain, and you are releasing more and more. You beat until you collapse. I know what I'm talking about. I've been beaten until the belt got finished on my body. I don't even know me. I wasn't feeling anything anymore. I instead heard somebody crying, and I was like, how can you beat someone and they are the one crying? But I know how painful it can be, because I've tried to beat Gabi a few times in this house. I actually feel like I'm going to cry, and so I stop. And sometimes I miss, so I actually beat my own self. I hurt my own self. So no, that's not it. Sometimes I'm like, oh God, help me. One day let him just grow up. 4-year-old children, 4-year-old, their paternal grandmother. So what have I done? It's good to know people, to have contacts. So I've made some calls and everything, and I know somebody in the ministry, and they are high placed, and they've put the case, they've taken that case, Ministry of Social Affairs, because, well, that's their work, right? And we CSOs, it is also our job. If you see something, say something. And if you can do something, do something. So I really appreciate the person who did this video. Sometimes people say, oh, no, it's not your business, mind your business. Mind which business? That they'll be beating children like that next to you, and you say it's not your business. We cannot afford to do that. That's why we have to keep blowing these whistles, keep talking about them. I remember a few months ago, there was a little child. It's a neighbor who still reported to the police. That child, she had been beaten by her father and stepmother until one eye was closed. She looked like somebody who had not bathed for 3 months. Her hair was falling off. A little child, they had said that she was a witch. I think she was 9 years old. The clothes she had on was already like rags. I hear that she was locked in some room there and fed like a dog, all of that. And the child actually believed she was a witch, because when she was hospitalized, somebody went and interviewed her, and she was confirming or saying that, yeah, she's a witch. They said that she's a witch. It's even some pastor who said that. I cannot believe. But at least the neighbor did something. The neighbor saw something. The neighbor said something. Now, whether the law follows that case to the end or not, it's no more the neighbor's conscience. That is why I decided to do something. I was like, no, somebody will not tell me, and then I will watch it, and then I will stay quiet. I can do something, and I can at least raise awareness using this story, and then I can knock on some doors, I can make some phone calls, and then I hope something can be done. At least now my conscience is really kind of calm, especially now that I'm also talking about it. Because when I got it yesterday, I didn't even have the heart to share it on social media. I was like, haven't you shared enough of such cases? How many of these cases are there in this country? Who still beats children like this in 2020? And you can imagine, maybe you go and see that woman sitting somewhere, military officer, high ranking, whatever, all of those kind of things. And then probably maybe on Christmas Day, they are going to cook for the whole village, invite their whole neighborhood, play the loudest music, all of those things. Maybe those poor children will see chicken that particular day. Pap. You know how you eat food in that kind of house? Like, you don't even know if you should be eating that food in the first place. Look, let me tell you another story, a very true story. I had a relative who got married to a woman. That woman was, the first time I learned about counting grains of rice was in that woman's house. She will give you people rice and say, count that rice. Pick it, put all the dirt. Back then we were picking rice which had dirt. Pick all the dirt and put one side. Put the clean one here, and then count the grains. Now, my siblings and I were visiting, and we were kind of like VIP children. But we still participated sometimes in that. And I used to go close to the children she would maltreat, because I've had this from childhood. I couldn't understand why you would treat children so. I stayed in that house. When they would cook food, she would keep it. She had a room. She would keep food in her room. The food will get bad, and then that's the food she's going to give you people to eat. I remember very well, I've had this kind of brain from childhood. Once she made meat pie or fish, because she was a very good cook. And then put the thing that, sometimes when you make those things and then it gets overheated in a carton, you pack them and everything, the next day they can get bad. I know. I once cooked a bag of perfume rice for Christmas on Christmas Eve. By Christmas Day, everything was bad. It was bad in the pot. That heat and everything, and I had to start again. Those are the kind of things that just make me hate this season. So she did that. The next day or 2 days after, she called. I'll call them my other relatives. That's why I don't care about food and all of these things, because I've lost taste in all of those things. And then gave them and told them to stand in front of her and eat it. You could see those white things on that meat pie like that. Look, I'm just like, I should just be crying. Some people will listen to this and know the people I'm talking about. Sometimes we say we should not watch dirty linen in public, but no, sometimes people have to air it. People have to talk. This is terrible. You have to be taking food like this in your own relative's house. He buys the food, he does all of those things, but he's not there. So he doesn't know. I'm talking what? Even me myself in my own father's house, I had to be skipping the war to go and get food for my brother and I. God. Why would people do this to children? What are we doing with food? What are we doing with all of these things? What are we doing with them? Are we going to live forever? Common food that you eat and go to the toilet. You will not give children food to eat. Can you eat all of that food? Sometimes I take picture of food, I'm sitting on it, I don't even eat half of the food. In this house, anybody can eat anything. Sometimes just ask, that's all I want to know, because sometimes I'm trying to do this, but I bought some lemon before I wanted to come back. Abi had cut one. I'm tired of asking, like, why did you do the just eat, let them eat. Not to talk of beats. Even just that beating, is it not energy you are using? Why would you go and waste your energy like that? If you really want to beat, go and box. Go and run. Or hit your own head against the wall. And you know what these children did this time around? They climbed on her new chairs. 4-year-old children, they climbed on her new chairs. She had locked those children in the house once again and gone out. And then by luck for the children, she came back when they were jumping on the chairs. You lock children up, what do you want them to do? You don't put on the TV. You lock the thing up, you take the key, everything. What should children do now? Seriously, if they can take those children away from her, let them take those children away from her. This is it. We don't have no shelters in Cameroon. We don't. Or maybe they take a place in an orphanage somewhere, hoping that that's where they're not also going to abuse them. Anyway, if you see something, say something, get it out of your conscience. Don't pretend you're not seeing something, say, because it's not your business. Why did you see it? Probably so that you should say something. Just say something. It doesn't matter. Say something. At least you have started something. And then if you can do something, do something. At least you have done something. It doesn't matter what that thing leads to, what your action leads to. You have at least done something. Look, when we talk about reporting, for example, a rape case and everything, it's not because we are hoping that the man will be locked forever and ever. Well, that's not what happens in this country. But because the victim will see or will know one day somebody cared enough to believe me and to report and to see if justice could be done and to, those children will grow up and maybe somehow one day know, somebody said, somebody reported, and that's why we were removed from here. And I've watched even on TV, on Uncle Steve's show, how a child who was abandoned by their own mother and beaten up, everything was picked up by some woman and everything. So that woman for her is her mother today, and she herself was also pregnant at 14, and so that woman is like the grandmother to her own child. Okay, well, the mother was on drugs, so probably when the mother had her, the mother couldn't take care of her, so the mother abandoned her somewhere. But if that woman did not see this child and think like she could take this child, or she just passed and went and said it's not my business, what would have happened to that child today? Yes, Mercy, it is so painful and frustrating. It is so painful and frustrating coming from a woman. So painful and frustrating. I think I have some friends who are in difficult marriages because they've not been able to conceive up to today. I have some whose engagements were broken because they could not conceive. Some people, it's like, until you conceive, we will not sign, or we will not do wide wedding, whatever. So it's like, yes, children are a big deal for some. So you cannot have, and then you treat that way now. Even if you are grandma, that means it's your own blood or whatever. You treat that way. That means there's so much bitterness and everything in that woman's heart. Whatever those children did. So there's this neighbor, once in a while, when this neighbor can sneak something, like when the woman leaves, he passes through the window and just gives those children some small something. The day that woman will catch. Once, let me tell you a last thing before I log off. The woman had a house help that she got from some connection from the northwest. She was maltreating this child. That child is 14. Maltreating the child until they told somebody who was looking for a house help. That there's a child here. One woman is maltreating until maybe you will want to rescue that child, because they know her that she really takes good care of her house helps. It's my child, so I know. So she organized and went and took the child from there. Oh my goodness, that lady wanted to become a lion overnight. What do you want to show? Blah, 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 blah. But since they don't live in the same area, she does not know where the other person lives. She could not show up there. But she at least knew who hinted that there was a child who was being maltreated and you could salvage that child. But that is it. So it is not something like, I don't think that she's only abusing her own grandchildren, but it's a woman who has a lot of bitterness and anger and all of that in her, and so she just takes it out on vulnerable people, especially children, who cannot fight back, who cannot say anything. The video is there, the link is there, watch it. It's just 2 minutes 30 seconds or something like that. You cannot beat a child like that if you yourself are not completely out of touch with your own reality. You're so frustrated, you are so depressed, you're so everything. Many people need to consult some psychiatrists and stuff like that. They're walking the streets, lost in drugs and drinks and sex and all of those things, or taking it out on innocent children like that. They say Christmas is a time for reconciliation, for forgiveness and stuff. Let each of us really check ourselves, and the way we don't only treat our children but children around us. And if we keep ignoring things that are happening in our neighborhood, in my neighborhood, you don't beat children until a year. They know me. When I came in, that was my first fight. I don't want to hear. In my son's school, no, nothing. Don't beat. The proprietor said it to this year, PTA. Don't beat. Don't punish. Do any other thing. Don't beat. I don't want to hear. And because I'm a lawyer, people don't want trouble. Even if I will not sue them, but I'm threatening them. I said I'll call the police. I had a neighbor. He will beat his son like that. Once I told him. Shortly after they moved house. It's like, no. That child used to like to come and stay in my house, sit quietly. One day the father came back and the child was from here. Beat that child until I was like, what? What is your problem? I said he should not move. I said, what? Is he a prisoner? He came to my house. Probably because he cannot tolerate the atmosphere in your own. And that was his only son. But because he couldn't stand his wife, so he was taking it out on that innocent child. And that child was becoming as stubborn as himself, of course. Oh my goodness, see the kind of things that are happening this end of year. How can I even love this season? With all the stories. That man, this one, there's another one, they just called me about a 14-year-old child, and I'm like, no God, no God, no. Well, yeah, I also had to rant some. Thank you very much those who joined. I really appreciate. Please, if you want to support us, sometimes I make those calls, I put data, I do all of those things. Our number is there, but I'm just like, this is it. I really feel this calling, and I do it as much as I'm re-triggered over and over again. But it's also helping me. It's kind of therapeutic too. And I also think about how I really don't want to have a home where a child has to regret being there, has to be scared to come back to, and all of those kind of things. That's why it's very, very glaring in my house. I'm all for peace, harmony, serenity. I don't want nothing. Nobody is going to come and make any child in my house regret being in this house, or not want to come back from school because they don't know what is waiting for them at home and all of those things. We have just small time with those children. After that, they too will go. Can we just make it the best time for them, and so that they can go with those good memories and also learn those habits that are going to use to also raise their own children or to integrate into society without being, some awkward people and people who need therapy and mental health care and all of those things. People, please, maybe this 2020 has been so tough like this, so that we really take time and think and then see these kind of things and say, no, not under my watch. If I see something, I'm going to say something, and if I can do something, I'm going to do something. God bless us all.